Transport is the movement of people and goods from one place to another. Transport is classified according to the mode it takes, that is, water, land, and air. It is also categorized into traditional and modern forms. In this lesson, we are going to learn about traditional forms of transport. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define the term transport, explain the traditional means of transport. The exercise provided will help you remember what we learned in the previous lesson. Indicate true or false on the following statements. The puzzle provided will help you remember what you learned in this lesson. Identify 6 different traditional forms of transport. They are written horizontally, diagonally, vertically, or backward. Traditional forms of transport can be divided into land transport and water transport. Try out the exercise provided. The following are advantages and disadvantages of animal transport. Drag and drop advantages and disadvantages of animal transport to the spaces provided. Land transport refers to transport that takes place on land. In the olden days, it included human porterage and animal transport. Human porterage was the earliest form of land transport. It involved carrying of goods by people on their backs, head, shoulders, and hands. Animal transport involves the use of animals to carry people and goods. The animals used were referred to as pack animals. There were various pack animals that were used as means of transport. They include donkeys, oxen, horses, dogs, camels, mules, elephants, water buffalo, reindeer, llama, and alpaca. Another form of transport that was used in the olden days was water transport. The earliest forms of water transport included tree trunks, rafts, canoes, boats, and sailing ships. Tree trunk was a log that floated on water and a person could cling on it as it moved downstream. On the other hand, a raft was a simple floating structure made up of several logs tied together. It could be propelled upstream by use of long poles. Canoes and sailing ships were advanced early forms of water transport. A canoe was a big log hollowed out on one side to accommodate passengers and goods. It was propelled using oars or paddles. Sailing ships were advanced boats that could be propelled by wind using a sail. The invention of sailing ships promoted trade and exploration. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the modern means of transport. There are various means of modern transport. They include road, water, rail, and air transport. In this lesson, We shall pay particular attention to road and rail transport. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to describe developments in modern means of transport and analyze the impact of modern means of transport. In our previous lesson, we discussed the traditional. Another form of transport that was used in the olden days was water transport. The earliest forms of water transport included tree trunks, rafts, canoes, boats, and sailing ship. The invention of the wheel enhanced the development of the roads. The Romans built straight roads with hard surface all over Europe and North Africa by 300 BC. When the Roman Empire fell, the roads were neglected until the 18th century, when engineers in Europe developed better roads. Attempt the following exercise. The following are advantages and disadvantages of rail transport. Drag and drop the advantages and disadvantages to the spaces provided. The development of roads led to improvement of the modes of transport. This included the development of bicycles, motorcycle, and motor vehicle. Road transport has affected the lives of people in various ways. These include, it has led to promotion of trade and growth of towns. It has also led to creation of employment opportunities and promotion of industrialization. Unfortunately, road transport has led to pollution of the environment. The earliest railway was made of wood in the 16th century. Wooden rails were used in Britain and Germany. Iron rails were first used in the early 19th century. Early railway carriages were drawn by horses and donkeys. Many engineers were involved in the development of locomotive engine. For example, in 1829, Stephenson and his son Robert built an engine called Rocket, which had a speed of 48 kilometers per hour. Over the years, there has been an improvement on efficiency and speed of trains. Modern means of transport have led to both positive and negative effects on the human society. Some of them are promotion of local and international trade, growth of urban centers, creation of employment opportunities, diffusion of ideas due to easy movement of people, increase in rural to urban migration, loss of human lives due to accidents, growth of international terrorism, and environmental pollution. Try out the following exercise. Type in the correct answer in the spaces provided. Communication is the exchange of ideas, messages, information, and instructions between two or more parties. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the various forms of traditional means of communication. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify different types of traditional forms of communication and describe the traditional means of communication. The exercise provided will help you remember what we learned in the previous lesson. Try out the following exercise. Match the limitations provided with the correct form of communication. One of the traditional forms of communication was smoke signal. Smoke signal was used to warn people of impending danger, for example, external attacks. This was done by lighting fire on top of a hill. Another form of traditional communication These were trusted runners who were sent with either verbal or written messages from one party to another. Horn blowing was yet another form of communication. The horns used were from special animals such as the antelopes. In most African communities, horn blowing was used to mark the beginning of circumcision ceremonies. They were also used to call for meeting of council of elders, summon warriors during external attacks, and also announce death of a king. Some communities also used screams to convey different messages. The most common messages were announcement of death, distress calls for help during attacks, and good news, for example, wedding and birth of a child. Written messages were also used in the olden days. They were in form of pictures and inscription. The materials used included parchment. These were made from dried animal skin. Scrolls. These were sheets of paper which were rolled up around a wooden bar or ivory. They were made from materials such as dried papyrus reeds. Scrolls were used by Romans, Asians, Jews, Hebrews, and the Chinese. These forms of communication had some limitations, which include messages sent by screaming could not be sent over a wide area. Messages could easily be misunderstood. Written messages were limited to literate people. Smoke messages did not work well during the wet and windy season. Messengers or runners were slow and consumed a lot of time. Messengers could deliver wrong messages. They could be attacked by wild animals as they ran to deliver messages. Horn blowing required expertise to blow, and drum beats could be disrupted by strong winds. In this lesson, we are going to study modern means of communication. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the modern means of communication, describe the modern means of communication, and analyze the impact of modern means of communication. The exercise provided will help you remember what we learned in the previous lesson. Drag and drop the correct answers in the spaces provided. The exercise provided will help you remember what we learned in the previous lesson. Drag and drop the correct answers in the spaces provided. Modern means of communication is also called telecommunication because it involves sending or receiving of messages over long distances. Some of these include telephone and cell phone, television, radio, telegraph, facsimile or fax, telex, and pager. A telephone is an instrument that relays sound waves over a long distance using electric wires. It consists of a microphone and a receiver mounted on a handset. A mobile phone is a similar device that has been invented recently that does not require electric wires in transmitting the sound waves. Telex and fax are modern means of communication that transmit coded electrical signals. Internet is a computer-based global information network that links thousands of computers throughout the world using telephone lines. On the other hand, electronic mail is a system of transmitting data or text files from one computer to another over an intranet or the internet through a modem. This is a form of sending messages using a computer connected to the internet. Modern means of communication have various effects, which include enhancing cultural exchange and spread of ideas. It has reduced the world into a global village. Another effect is that it has made it possible for information to be stored permanently. Other effects include promotion of cultural exchange and spread of ideas, improvement of security, creation of employment opportunities, permanent storage of information, turn the world into a global village, improvement and diversification of entertainment, and enhancement of education. However, it has negative effects such as promotion of international crime, for example, drug trafficking and terrorism, addiction to some devices such as TV and internet, advancement of warfare, for example, use of satellite-guided missiles, and promotion of immorality. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the modern means of communication. One of them is print media. Print media refers to all that is written and published which provides information. These include newspapers, magazines, journals, books, and newsletters. In this lesson, we are going to discuss the modern means of communication. Newspapers play a significant role in the dissemination of information. A newspaper is an unbound publication containing primarily current events and advertisements issued at frequent intervals. A newspaper contains some of the following feature articles: news, commentaries, reviews, editorials, and advertisements. There are different types of newspapers, which include daily newspapers, magazines, journals, and periodicals. Daily newspapers print at least one edition every weekday. Examples of daily newspapers are Daily Nation, The Standard, The People Daily, Taifa Leo, The Monitor, among others in Kenya. In other countries, daily newspapers include the Los Angeles Times in USA and the Toronto Star in Canada. Magazines are normally published on weekly, fortnightly, or monthly basis. They provide specialized information on particular issues. Unlike daily newspapers, magazines are normally bound. Examples of magazines are the Kenya Gazette, Reader's Digest, Parents, True Love, Drum, Eve, and The Finance. It is important to note that with the current technology, it is possible to read magazines online. Both periodicals and journals are publications that are produced at regular intervals. They target professionals and special interest groups. Examples of these are Review of African Political Economy, East African Journal of Social Sciences, East African Medical Journal, Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology, the British Medical Journal, and the Career. Print media has played a major role in people's lives. It has positive effects such as it is informative on various issues. It is also a source of entertainment and storage of information. Print media also promotes trade. Print media has various limitations in that it is limited to those who are literate and is also expensive. Some print media has pornographic material which may bring out moral decay. It can also be addictive, such as newspapers and magazines.